I'll do my best.
Your best? Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and the prom queen.
Here we go, boys and girls. We are live. It's the best soccer show, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. We are here for U.S. Open Cup final. Seattle Sounders.
I got my celebration scotch out.
You have celebration scotch? You don't even know who you're celebrating for yet. You're celebrating.
It's my special occasion scotch. I got my Glenmorangie 18 year.
It is certainly a special occasion, and I was thinking about this, and maybe it's us doing the show and having to do prep and all of those things. I'm sure that's biasing me in some small way, but this feels bigger to me than it has the last couple of years. I don't know why. I know there's less people that they get in Seattle for a final. I know that's out there, but I don't know. It feels kind of big to me, Jared. I can
contribute it to two things. I think one, the Cup got a lot of more. It got a boost from the Cal FC storyline. You know, I'm not going to give it a tribute at all to that, but secondly, I think the average soccer fan in America's knowledge has gotten to the point where they understand the cup system, you know, and they think they've had experience with the FA Cup now. They kind of understand what this is and the seriousness that it should have in our game.
Well, I think it's the Sporting Kansas City factor, and because Seattle's been here, this is old hat for them. They're going for their fourth, which is a big deal. It's a massive deal, and you know, congratulations on that achievement. And if they are on winning 3 and getting back to the fourth final, and if they win 8, I mean that's a record. That may never be broken, but it's the Sporting Kansas City factor. They have all of this enthusiasm. It'll be there if they can win this. It'll be their first win under the new brand name, under the new colors scheme, in the new building. They're running this thing. I guess this is Heinemann's baby called Paint the Wall. They've got a corner of the stadium where their trophies are on display, and they want to add one to that lineup of trophies, which is, you know, the 2000 championship, the 2004 Open Cup, the Supporter Shield. They want to add one in this era, in the new era of Sporting Kansas City, and I think that they're bringing a lot to the tournament. I really do.
I think that's true as well. I don't know. I'm trying to think about who has more pressure on them right now. Does the fact that Seattle has won 3 already put less pressure on them, whereas Kansas City's hosting the event? It's a big step for them, like you said, with a new brand. Who's got more of the pressure, you think, in this game?
Wow. I think the pressure is probably on Sporting Kansas City. They paid for the right to have the game in their home stadium. They haven't won a trophy in so long. Their fan base is obviously growing and enthusiastic and excited. And I think while they will have home field advantage, I think that there's probably more pressure on that club to win this. This is, like I said, Seattle's been here. They've done it. They've got they've got these trophies in their trophy case back home, and as much as they put into this tournament, I don't know that they go into this thinking, oh, we have to win this. This is more like, this is our thing. We can go in it. They're pretty relaxed about this at this point, don't you think?
So if the pressure is on KC, are you surprised? And we haven't teased this yet or anything, but the lineups are out. But are you surprised they went with such a defensive-minded lineup then, or is that just them playing their style?
Let's roll this out. Let's start with Kansas City because you mentioned them. Nielsen, Myers, Olam, Beasler, Sinovic, Sinovic, however they say it, Pablo Nagamura, Cesar, Espinoza, Zusi, Bunbury, and Kamara. So it does seem very. I mean, when you have Pablo Nagamura on the same field as Roger Espinoza and Julio Cesar, this is pretty defensive, right? And this is
I think that what you're seeing right there is Kansas City's commitment to frustrate Seattle. I think they know that controlling Ozzy Alonso is going to be a big part of this. Rose is going to kind of play the kind of similar role to that. They need to shut down the playmakers of Seattle, Rosales. So everything about this lineup right now, to me, screams a wall across the middle of the field, and they're gonna try to frustrate them as much as possible, which is Kansas City's style, though.
But it's at home. Don't you think you should go for a little bit at home? I mean, I know it's a final and you're anxious to win this, and maybe you're at your best when you put these frustrating type players, these I don't know what you would call them, bulldog type players on the field, but don't you feel like you should go for it a little bit? I mean, I know you got.
I think this is Kansas City going for it. At what point in the season have you seen them get any success outside of a system where you hustle for 90 minutes and you take the 1 to 2 opportunities you get? That's their style. I think this is just them putting even more of a firm grasp on it. I think they realize that Seattle can move the ball. Seattle can get the ball wide and make great. But I mean, look at the service that Eddie Johnson's been getting from Mauro Rosales. It's been ridiculous. So you try to shut that down. You try to disrupt it as much as you possibly can. I think Kansas City knows their role in this, and I think they're going to play into that role, and I think they've kind of owned it all season. I don't think they're trying to do anything that's not them. This is them, and Seattle's going to come out there and try to play the ball on the ground and really try to move it around, and you're just going to see what a lot of people are going to consider a very negative style, I think, with Kansas City, but they find a way to make that negative style really work.
Okay, we intended to have Jeremiah O'Shan from Sounder at Heart, SB Nation, No Sadietes on the North American Soccer Network on the air right now. He didn't answer his phone the first time. I'm going to try him here. Give him a couple minutes if we can squeeze him in. I do want to see what he makes of Kansas City's lineup.
Hey, Jeremiah.
Hey, Jeremiah, Jason, and Jared. We're live. We tried to get you before we went live, but it didn't work out. So now you're live. All right?
Yeah, I'm in a packed sports bar where there's about 200 people getting ready to watch this game that looks like it's going to be delayed. So you'll pardon me if I miss some of the words you're going to say.
No, I understand. Did you say a delay?
Huh?
You said something about a delay?
Oh, no. The one I'm saying that the game's delayed for rain, it looks like.
Oh, okay. But that's what I'm saying. I had not heard that yet. Well, okay, if you could...
Yeah, it looks like it's like they might have thunderstorms going on right now.
I did see the weather report. It did say thunderstorms. I know it was raining hard not too long ago. Rules dictate 30-minute delay for lightning strike within 2 miles of the stadium, and they just saw one. So it looks like we're going to be sitting around waiting for this game to start, which is absolutely fantastic when you're doing a pregame show. But Jeremiah, assuming we get to this game, assuming it's played, have you seen the Kansas City lineup, first of all?
I have, yeah.
And what do you make of that?
I mean, it seems like a good lineup. I mean, CJ Sapong is basically the only starter that I would have maybe expected to be out there. Ariel Collin obviously wasn't going to be playing. But I mean, to me, that looks like a pretty good. Both teams look like they're putting out pretty close to regular starting lineups. Does the Kansas City lineup indicate to you that Sporting is going to come out and really just try to frustrate the hell out of Seattle and maybe win this thing 1-0? Well, I mean, I think that's what their lineup says no matter what.
Right. That's true. That's a good point. But I mean, it's Jared and I are just talking about. I mean, yeah, you're right. A lot of these guys are regular starters, but it seems like if Paulo Nagamura is on the field, Jeremiah, that seems like there's a little extra bit of kicking going on.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree, and that was kind of what we expected all along. I mean, as good as it's funny. You see a 4-3-3, and you kind of think, oh, Sporting Kansas City must be this wide open, free-flowing offense, and the reality is that they're probably the most physical team in the league right now.
Jeremiah, Jason and I were just talking before we got you on the line. We were asking about who the pressure's on for this game, and I think he and I both agreed that we think it's Kansas City. Do you think that Seattle, having already won 3 times and going for a 4th, do they have less pressure than KC hosting this event?
No, I think the Sounders. I mean, it's a weird. I guess it's weird. Everyone I think expects the Sounders to win. There's some inherent pressure with that. But the Sounders, I mean, the reality is Sounders haven't lost an Open Cup game. They're 16-0 basically as an MLS franchise in the Open Cup. I don't think they get nervous they don't feel pressure for the Open Cup. For better or for worse, this is a team that fully expects to win Open Cup games no matter where they're playing, no matter who they're playing against. I mean, I guess there's a pressure that comes with fear of failing, but I just don't think that they think they're going to. Whether that's fair or not is another issue, but certainly Siggy Schmidt has convinced these guys that this is their tournament, and not only to win, but this is their tournament, like they own it.
You mentioned Siggy. Now he's said some things that are fairly interesting, and look, I know that the hosting and the sealed bid and all of that stuff is still a sore spot for Seattle fans. But is Siggy overplaying the victimhood card just a little bit?
I think he was looking for things to motivate the team while they were, maybe, most of that stuff. You look at when it was, in every round he's got to come up with a new kind of shtick to motivate the guys. And I think the whole thing about the U.S. soccer doesn't want the Sounders to win a fourth Open Cup, I think was just part of that shtick. I think he's just looking for things to motivate guys. I mean, Siggy Schmid, I think he's a great coach, but there's not a more Machiavellian coach in the league than Siggy Schmid.
Hey, Jeremiah, do you buy into the line about because Seattle takes the Open Cup so seriously, there's no coincidence there that they haven't been able to win the whole thing yet? Is taking this tournament so seriously, is that hampering Seattle's chances to really take it all the way?
I mean, I guess there's some inherent. I mean, it's like you can only do what you can do, right? I mean, you have limited resources. And the Sounders have decided that they're going to compete for every cup that they're entered into. And yeah, I mean that's gonna hurt their chances elsewhere. I mean, I would think that from a long-term franchise building perspective, it's the right thing to do. I think they have bigger visions than just being an MLS Cup champion. And yeah, I mean maybe it's hurt them in the short term, but I think it's raised the profile of the team a lot, especially in the local market. And I don't know that if they hadn't won 3 straight Open Cup championships, I don't know that they'd be, having 61,000 fans show up to a random game in the middle of the season against the LA Galaxy.
Jeremiah, you mentioned you're at a sports bar. There's 200 Sounders fans there in attendance to watch this game on television. Is there a different feeling about the tournament and about the final in Seattle among Sounders fans because it's not at home?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, we had 35,000 fans at CenturyLink last year. I don't know that people were more or less hyped up than they were a year ago. I mean, people are definitely interested in this game. I mean, Sounder Heart has 2 different watch parties that are going to draw probably close to 300 people. ECS probably has watch parties that are going to have 300 people. Sounders are organizing a bunch of them. I mean, there's probably 2,000 Sounders fans at watch parties around Seattle, and so it's, I don't know if that makes a bigger deal just because they have to organize for these things, but it's Sounders fans are definitely interested in this game. There's no question about it.
Jeremiah, a week ago, the team decides to pull the trigger on a big trade, a sign-and trade. They get rid of Alvaro Fernandez to Chicago. They bring in Tiffert. Now, it's a week later, one of the biggest games in the season, and now you're without either one. Is that timing of that trade, is that suspect now in your eyes? Because now you're playing without either one of these guys in one of the biggest games of your season?
I mean, it's a valid question. The reality is that Alex Kasky was starting games that Alvaro Fernandez was healthy during. I mean, Alvaro Fernandez was definitely looking better recently, but this team was not relying on Alvaro Fernandez to be producing this year. They had started the season hoping that it wasn't happening, and I think in some ways they had moved on from the expectation that Alvaro was going to be a productive player, several weeks ago. Christian Tippert's going to be available off the bench. Could the timing have been better? Absolutely. But, it goes into the whole thing. The Sounders, I don't think, look at the Open. They're certainly not playing their whole season with the idea of winning the Open Cup. And, it's even for them at this point, they're definitely have designs on bigger things in the Open Cup.
All right, in 10 seconds, give me a prediction, Jeremiah.
Sounders win 4-2. I'm going to steal one from my co-bloggers, Dave Clark.
Wow, 6 goals on a rain-soaked pitch in Kansas City. Thanks for the time. Jeremiah O'Shea, Sounder at heart, SB Nation, and No Sadietas on the North American Soccer Network. Thanks for the time, Jeremiah. Have fun.
Hey, no problem. Thanks a lot.
All right, bye. All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to Josh Hakala. I'm not exactly sure how to get his last name out. From the Cup.us, covers this tournament a lot. Don't go anywhere. Best Soccer Show. What? Jason Davis, Jared Dubois back on the Best Soccer Show live ahead of Sounders Sporting Kansas City for the U.S. Open Cup title. And to talk about the game, the tournament, 2012's edition specifically, Josh Hakala from the Cup.us, the man that knows everything about the Open Cup, as far as I can tell. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Not bad, not bad. Okay, let's start with, how about a big picture question about 2012? How do you, I mean, you know, you've been following this tournament for a long time. I know you got a lot of historical stuff at the website. How do you rate this tournament, and maybe just in the modern era, in the pro era, so to speak, the 2012 edition? Where does it fall in terms of good, bad, indifferent?
I think it's been great. I think just from top to bottom, expanding the number of teams, and you know, there's always going to be pros and cons to it. But I think overall, I think it was a big plus this year. Getting more teams, more MLS teams playing lower division teams, getting more drama, more David versus Goliath matchups. I think we really had it all. And I think it's paid off nicely with the matchup that we have in the final. I think it's got two teams, and there's drama on both sides. You've got, you know, Sporting Kansas City trying to win one again with a new revived fan base and a new, sort of a new look franchise and everything. And then you've got Seattle Sounders going for 4 in a row, which has never been done. So it's kind of a great payoff for what has been a pretty great tournament.
You know, Josh, when we started the show, Jason and I were talking about what we led off with is that between he and I, it feels bigger this year. Neither of us can really attribute to why it feels that way. But from your end, does it feel bigger than it has at any point that you can remember?
The final specifically, I think.
Well, I feel the tournament altogether, but the final specifically, yeah.
That's to do with the stories that we had early on. I think sort of built a little bit of momentum going toward the final, and you know, having some fan bases that were really fired up about the game and about the tournament. So I think, you know, with Kansas City and Seattle, and you have other fan bases that were kind of just really fired up about it that we haven't really seen as much of. And I think a lot of it had to do with the early round drama that we had, you know, with the Cal FC and the Michigan Bucks knocking off MLS opponents, and it really kind of gets people's attention. And I think the years where we've had upsets like that, the tournament has, you know, seen a spike in popularity, and you know, just the years where it's been all MLS teams, it's been sort of the opposite. So it's been a good year all around for that.
It seems like, though, whenever we take a couple steps forward with this tournament, and certainly the Cal FC storyline and some of the other upsets, and Sporting being involved this year, which I think adds something new. For all the steps we take forward, we take a step back with the television coverage, which is what a lot of people are kind of annoyed about. Goal TV is a fine soccer broadcaster in America, but they hardly have the same kind of profile as Fox Soccer or NBC Sports or ESPN have. How do we contextualize the issues that this tournament still has getting in front of a large audience?
You know, the television situation is kind of a question mark by itself, because I don't think anyone has really confirmed who was in the running for the rights, and there's really no way to. I mean, organizations like the U.S. Soccer don't really talk about negotiations. They don't say things like, "Well, we had three networks who were battling it out for the rights, and you know, this is how much they paid," and they never talk about that stuff. So it's kind of hard to know what the situation was, and I don't know. To me, it seems like the fact that it was not finalized until the week before the tournament kind of leads me to believe that there might not have been as much interest from other networks for whatever reason. I don't know why that would be, to broadcast the final. And the way I saw it, I thought that as soon as we knew it was going to be Seattle at Kansas City with a sold-out stadium, with a team going for a four-peat, I figured, you know, they would have tripped over themselves to try to get that game, especially since Fox Soccer broadcasted the Cal FC Seattle game. You know, you would think that they would be kind of up for the final, but that's just the way the thing works out, and Goal TV paid the money that the U.S. Soccer wanted, and they got the final.
Then this year, people may not know that this year is the 99th annual I don't want to say running, but playing of the U.S. Cup, Open Cup. Next year, it's going to
just 99th edition. Just say it's
I don't know, 99th edition. That's fine. So next year's going to be 100. Is there any onus on U.S. soccer to do something different, to do something bigger, to really, where can they go and where can they take this in the 100th year that it hasn't been yet? What's the next step in the evolution to really celebrate 100 years of this cup?
Well, I hope they do something. I mean, there's not a whole lot of coverage that goes on. I mean, they put out the press release after the games are done. They let us know who's playing who, but there's really not a whole lot beyond that. I think they probably tweeted maybe a dozen times about it this year. So, I mean, it's sort of, I don't know what they would be nice for them to do something. I know we're going to try to do as much as we can. We're working on a full, site makeover. It's going to be, it'll be 100 times better. We'll have all of our historical information that I have piled up in a spreadsheet and all these things. Just, I can't wait to get it out there, but it's been sort of a long, arduous process to organize it. So hopefully we'll have it up before the 100th tournament, maybe before qualifying starts, which starts actually pretty soon for 2013. So so we'll try to do something a little special for it.
Right. So if you're interested in the early rounds, and obviously early rounds does not mean MLS, it doesn't mean NASL, it doesn't mean USL. It's much wider than that. I mean, this is an all-comers tournament. Go to thecup.us to find out all of that information that Josh is talking about. We appreciate your time, Josh. Enjoy the final.
Yeah, no problem.
And
thanks for having me. Yeah, well, I'm gonna go see if I can find a TV.
Yes, yes. I think you got some time to wait though. I just saw a tweet. It's 9:41 Eastern kickoff for this game now, thanks to that lightning delay. So we're all going to be sitting here killing some time. But thanks again for your time, Josh.
No problem. Anytime.
Right. So now Jared and I are faced with this dilemma. Can we talk about this game for the next 46 minutes, Jared? Is that possible?
I mean, we could. I mean, we could just do our normal show. I mean, that's always an option too. But here's the thing: we also are going to have our phone line open. So if people want to give us a call, they can call us at 201-430-2378. Talk about anything related to the Open Cup, how you're going to spend your time during your waiting for the kickoff, or if you want to talk about anything else that's gone on this week, you can give us a call and we can talk about that as well.
Yeah, open lines now, because we're going to be trying to go all the way up to kickoff. I mean, I guess on the fly we're making that decision. We're not going to go anywhere. We're going to be here. So we are your pregame spot, but that also means we can talk about other stuff. We have plenty of time to do that. There was an MLS rule change that just happened today, or it didn't happen today. It happened before the season, but nobody knew about it. We can talk about. What else am I missing, Jared? What were the other big stories? We haven't had a chance to talk about MLS 36, which I know you were excited about. I think we both watched the Chris Wondolowski episode from Philadelphia, so I'm sure we got some thoughts on that.
Well, if you want to talk about MLS 36 real quick, I enjoyed it. I liked it. One thing I thought was odd, and actually my wife brought this up, which is actually one kind of cool aspect about MLS 36 in general, is that it's the kind of programming that my wife, who puts up with a lot of soccer in our house anyway, she's able to get into that part. She likes the human interest side of it. It's kind of like when she used to watch The Office with me, and she hated watching The Office with me because it made her feel so awkward all the time. But then when she could get into like the Pam and Jim storyline, like that kind of thing, where there's the human part of it, she can get into that part. And I think it's the same way with soccer, and that's what this MLS 36 can kind of provide to kind of maybe reach out and cross the divide from the soccer fanboy to people that just have soccer in their life in general. And one thing she brought up in this, and I don't see if you feel the same way, she thought it was odd to do an away version of this show. Because it was kind of odd, because you don't want to see a guy in a hotel room the whole time. You got to want to see what his life is like outside of it. And I think they did a decent job of it, but still, it's kind of weird.
Well, I think the idea was, okay, here's our leading scorer. He's in a game that has other MLS stars. They're going up against the European champions, one of the biggest teams in the world. It gives it a little bit more star power in general, right? It brings some cachet to the whole thing. It's not just Chris Wondolowski in San Jose going to his 10,000-seat stadium to play, and no offense, Earthquake fans, but essentially a glorified high school stadium, against another MLS team that people may or may not care about, and there's no interaction there. I mean, this was, the thing that caught me is we are constantly rating, reviewing, watching closely all of these guys, All of you guys, especially a guy like Wondolowski, who is a fringe national teamer, right? He's a guy that scores buckets of goals in MLS, and we wonder if that can translate over to the national team. So we go, why? Maybe Chris Wondolowski is a national teamer. The guy, this is the humblest, big-time goal scorer I have ever seen in my entire life. And maybe I knew that. Maybe I had little experience reading interviews or a couple of times. Seen some interviews where he was very humble, but this was right there in his face. I mean, he wasn't, and I guess maybe that's different. Is if the camera's in your face, you're not going to be quite as cocky. But even when he's, among other players, he's kind of a shrinking violet off the field. I'm not saying, that doesn't have any effect on his play, but he's just kind of a shrinking violet. You think of goal scorers as being like, I don't know, who's the prototypical attitude goal scorer, right? A Balotelli.
Jeff Cunningham.
Jeff Cunningham. Yeah, me first guys, because that's kind of what that's kind of the attitude that the position requires. You have to be me first because your job is to go score goals. Which means
look at San Jose Earthquakes. Look at the San Jose Earthquakes. He is the embodiment of what that team reflects in personality. It starts with Chris Wondolowski, a selfless guy that's team first, doesn't care if he gets the goal or if someone else does, and that's probably why he has so much success and why that team is as well.
Yeah, and we've had a couple of people ask us directly, is Chris Wondolowski the type of player? Look at all these goals he's scoring in MLS. Should he have a shot at Europe, or could he, or will he? Or I don't think he's going anywhere because he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that is even. It doesn't look like that occurs to him. I could go play in Europe. It looks like he's so happy to be where he is after coming through the path that he did, second division, into the reserves, all of that stuff, to be where he is. He's so humbled and appreciative of this opportunity that he's got to play for the San Jose.
Let's be honest, Chris Wondolowski hit the lottery. I mean, and not that he did anything, not that it's all chance or anything like that, but this is a guy that feels he's on borrowed time. I mean, his own, I think he would probably admit to himself, his career probably should have been done a while back based on the success he was having, or the lack of success he was having earlier in his career. This guy is, it's amazing what he's been able to do the last few years. And I'll tell you what, when it comes to MLS 36, and despite it being away and at the All-Star game, that whole episode is worth it. Just for the soundbite of John Terry saying how impressed he was with his runs.
I didn't want to get to that. I mean, I think that, and that was the thing I saw a lot of the English football blogs kind of latch onto. Oh my gosh, look at John Terry being a nice guy. And look, John Terry's not. He's not an evil person. I mean, he may have had some moments or whatever. We obviously sensationalize everything he does.
It's just in Jason Davis defends John Terry. No,
I'm just saying that nobody is pure evil, and even John Terry, can express some respect to a player like Chris Wondolowski.
Since when is sexing up a couple ladies evil?
Since when is possibly calling someone a racial epithet?
Okay, maybe you went a little too far there.
Maybe you did. But it was a nice moment. It was. I mean, it obviously, whether or not John Terry's a bad person off the field or had a moment or two on the field, he's obviously a respected player. He's been called a world-class center back. He may not be there anymore, but he's certainly been in those environments. He's won a European title.
Listen. For every job, you like letters of recommendation, right? That's a hell of a letter of recommendation.
Well, I don't think Wando. That's the kind of thing. I don't think Wando takes it as okay, he's obviously not going to go use it as a letter of recommendation, but I just think it's validations for Chris Wondolowski that what he does is not so different from what John Terry sees on a weekly basis in the English Premier League. Yep. And this is what we say. John Terry said exactly the same thing that we always say about Chris Wondolowski. It is his overriding characteristic as a goal scorer. His movement, how he gets into space, how he finds, he's just constantly finding places to get on the ball, whether it's the back post, the near post, just moving into little spaces. That's what Chris Wondolowski does. And to have a guy like John Terry say it to him in a situation like MLS 36, I mean, obviously it wasn't on the national broadcast of the All-Star game, but to have him say it there, I think it can warm your MLS cockles a little bit, Jared. Can it?
Whoa. Phrasing.
Phrasing.
So the Freddie Montero one's going to be out this weekend. Now I haven't heard what stint of time. Actually, no, they've already shown some clips from it. I guess it's already all in the can right now. None of it will be from the U.S. Open Cup, but I'm stoked to see him at home. I think that's going to be a really cool storyline. I don't know how good is Freddie Montero's English. I don't even know. I don't really ever listen to him
myself, and I learned something from my DVR cut off before the end of that teaser. I think I missed like maybe 5 seconds, but what I caught was okay. He didn't talk in the teaser, right? He didn't say anything, so I don't know how good his English is, and I'm sure the Seattle people have an idea. Maybe they can inform us. And did you know he got married? I didn't know that.
Did not know. I did not know, but I saw who he married, and I'm very happy to tune into the next episode of MLS 36.
Well, that's just. I mean, come on. That should have nothing to do with whether or not you watch, right? You should watch because you're a fan.
Freddie Montero's wife is hot.
Okay. I didn't know he got married, and he had some issues.
Now, is this the same girl that he had the issue with the police when he first got up there?
Dude, I have no idea, and I'm afraid we're treading on dangerous ground if we go down that road. I mean, look, Freddie had his problems. They're behind him now. He's happily married. He's going to be on MLS 36. He's scoring goals. I don't know what's next.
Is MLS cutting you a check now or something? You're being all dancing around the.
Be careful with that. If you start throwing that around, there are people who will latch on to that and turn that into some kind of real thing. And next thing you know, my whole thing is compromised here. No, I know. Look. He had some issues. I was surprised he was married for that reason, because he had his issues. I don't know how interesting this is going to be, but I'm going to watch it. I mean, it's MLS 36. We finally got this, Jared.
Either way, one of them in the can. I think that the road that they started down is one that they've got me hooked. I'm in. Maybe I wasn't there. I mean, obviously, they probably are going to have me either way. But watching the crossover with someone else in my home, then seeing how they were able to get into it, I think that is what this can bring to the table that no other programming about MLS has had so far. And I think that's the really cool thing about it for me. And I hope it keeps going that direction.
All right, how about this? How about because we've got to fill some time here, and the U.S. Open Cup final does not kick off until 9:41 Eastern, 8:41 local time, 5:41 out, or 4:40. 6:41 out in Jared's neck of the woods. Let's do this. Let's take a break. When we come back, I think this is bouncing around Twitter. I'm trying to track it. Who is the worst possible candidate for MLS 36? Who's the guy you do want to see? Save it. Okay? Save it. Because I do want to take a break. It's the best soccer show, North American Soccer Network. We're live ahead of Seattle versus Sporting Kansas City for the U.S. Open Cup trophy. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with bad MLS 36 candidates.
Yeah.
Cue me.
Oh, am I blurry?
Back on the best soccer show, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. Jason Davis, Jared Dubois, U.S. Open Cup final. That's not happening for another half an hour, so we are killing some time talking about MLS 36, which, again, I think that the Wando episode was pretty good. I wish it was. I wish it was an hour. I mean, it seems weird to pack 36 hours of stuff into 30 minutes with some commercials tossed in and everything else, but I thought it was pretty good. The question I've posed to you, Jared, is who would be the worst MLSer to have an MLS 36? Who's the guy you have no interest would be?
When you first said it, the first name that came to my head, I was like, oh. And then I was like, oh, wait a second. The name I thought was maybe one of the most interesting ones.
If you
first
say
name
Wells,
that popped in my head, that's the one that popped up in my head.
Wills Thompson will come over there and slap you. Sorry.
I was thinking Wills Thompson, and then I was like, that could be the most interesting one out there.
You're so predictable. I could have guessed that you were going to say Wells Thompson.
Okay, so is he the best one or is he the worst one? Because he's one of the two.
I bet it would be interesting. First of all, in half an hour, 36 hours, you're really not going to get too much preachiness from Wells Thompson. I mean, he might drop in, the God thing a couple of times. It'll be fine. Look, I don't mind a guy having faith. That's not the issue. I just don't want to be like, have it shoved up in my face.
No. It's the Jack McBrayer aspect that's going to it's really going to like.
I saw something. He did something for MLS where it was him and his wife were renting a house, or they had roommates and they have chickens or something. There's chickens involved. How do you not want to see chickens? Area code 479. Who's this? Hello. Who am I talking to? Oh, do I hear the stadium? Adam. Okay, that didn't work out too well. We were supposed to have a caller from Livestrong Sporting Park give us a little bit of atmosphere. So I guess
back to Wells Thompson at MLS 36. You're telling me you wouldn't want to see Wells Thompson?
No.
You want to see Wells Thompson for a half an hour surrounded by breasts?
You're the.
Jay Rodius.
You stopped me dead. Look,
don't even get me started. If there's any male roosters around there, I can have a whole bunch of other references.
Yeah. You could go down some dangerous roads, but you have you've come full circle on this, or you've done a 180 on this. You've come around. You were going to say no. I do not want Wells Thompson on MLS 36. That would be a terrible choice, and you've talked yourself into it now. So now you still have to give me bad.
I have a second option. Eddie Gavin. I have no interest in knowing what Eddie Gavin does off the field.
None?
Yeah, he sits on a couch and plays World of Warcraft or something. I don't know. Like,
you don't want to see Eddie Gavin look in the mirror.
I don't know if he's a shaman or like a rogue or a warrior or something.
Look, I think anybody that does not speak English at all is a bad choice, but I don't think that's not unique. I mean, that's not something funny. That's not a name that you just want to throw out. Oh, that guy doesn't speak English. He would be a bad choice.
Who's yours?
Who's my bad? I'm racking my brain here. I don't.
I gave you two already.
No, you gave me one. You gave me one bad one.
1.5. I give you 1.5.
I believe somebody threw up on our Twitter account Zach Thornton. I don't know if he's not in MLS anymore, right? So producer Trevor threw out Zach Thornton. Would that be a good You know what? Here's the thing about this though. You throw out a name and you go, oh, that would be boring. That would be terrible. And you can always talk yourself into, oh, there might be something interesting. We don't know anything about these guys. We don't know enough about them. So we want to make these snap judgments. And then, like with Wells Thompson, we go chickens. And yeah, that would be awesome.
For all I know, we'll get the Eddie Gavin, like MLS 36, and find out, like, he dates a stripper. He's in a metal band. Like, that's all sorts of stuff. I was like, whoa, dude, Eddie Gavin kind of rocks on the side.
Area code 940, who's this?
Hey guys, it's the Ginge. I'm a big fan of your show.
Oh, it's the Ginge from radio.
I just want to quickly throw out that I think the worst choice would be Kenny Cooper, because he would basically just go along like Peter Boyle and Young Frankenstein and just grunt. I don't think it'd be very entertaining.
Yeah, you know what?
And I'll get off the phone, but also real quick, I just wanted to say that it's very hard to watch your show because Jared is so good looking, it's intimidating.
Oh my
It's
God!
distracting. So I think we need to like turn the light down or something.
What is that? Just like a giant shot across my bow. Thanks for the call, Ginge. The thing about the Kenny Cooper choice is that you would probably get a lot of his dad, and I'm not sure I want to see too much Kenny Cooper's dad.
Here's what I want to see. I want to see the Kenny Cooper, the MS-36, just so I can see him open up his medicine cabinet and see how many different brands of butch wax he has in there to do his hair every day.
Who's this? Area code 479.
Hey, this is Adam from
Hey.
Twitter earlier today.
Yes, sir. Adam, are you out at Livestrong Sporting Park right now?
Just a second. I can't hear
That's
you guys
fine.
very well at all. It's crowd.
So is everybody ramped up for the game, Adam? I know kickoff's been pushed back, right?
Dude, what was that? I'm sorry.
Kickoff has been pushed back. How's the crowd?
The crowd is great. From what I see, I mean, there's most of the stadium is full. There's still some seats open. We're right here next to the Blue Cauldron. People are chanting, yelling. It's a great atmosphere here.
Yeah. Give us see if you can give us some chanting. Hold your phone up for just a second.
What was that?
Never mind. Thanks for the call, Adam. I know it's tough to hear us. We appreciate it. Thanks for the call. I wanted to see if we could get Adam with a little atmosphere.
I heard a little bit of it. I don't know if you can make it. I heard a little bit.
It was in there. I just didn't want to keep him on the line, have him say, "What was that? I can't hear it. What? And look, I was obviously going to be.
That's a good problem. If he can't hear us, that means that stadium's full and there's actually stuff going on.
Sounds like the Sporting Kansas City fans are into it. I would imagine. I think I saw the 300 something like that. Sounders fans traveled to that game. That's a pretty big number considering where it is. It's the middle of the week.
Way down the southeast.
Yes, yeah, Kansas City, way down there in the southeast. Long trip from Seattle, way down to the southeast. So I'm sure there's a little back and forth, and Seattle fans are making some noise as well. We were talking MLS 36. I think the Ginge has got it though. I think Kenny Cooper might be the worst choice. I mean, look, he's a good player, so you have that. But maybe we'll just leave it there.
Yeah, because he is kind of the soccer version of Vanilla, isn't he?
Yeah, we've got Freddie Montero coming up. I think that'll be interesting. All right. A topic that we have not yet touched on, Monday's game, U.S. Women's National Team, Canada, the whole debacle. Is
it a debacle?
Okay, I think it's a debacle, even though the U.S. won, and I'm certainly happy about that. I still think it's a debacle. When you come out of a game and you're talking more about the referee and the calls that were made than you are about the result or about Alex Morgan's winning goal, it's a debacle. It's bad. The situation.
But it's nothing that the U.S. can control.
No, sure. No, it's not. And it's not the United States' fault. And I want to make that clear. It's not like they didn't deserve to win. I think they did deserve to win. Of course, I'm biased. I'm American. I wanted them to win. But when you have all of those things happen and the talking point is, and I follow a lot of people on Twitter from Canada and I consider a lot of them friends, to see the back and forth with all of the vitriol and, wondering if that game was fixed and that kind of thing. It sours the whole deal. It just sours the whole. It was an amazing game. It was an amazing.
I think what I said is that I just didn't want to win like that. It was an amazing game. Probably top 5 games I've ever watched in my life. I mean, it was ridiculously entertaining. The storylines were there. The drama was there. Everything you want in the game was there. And some of it, unfortunately, a bit artificially created by the referee, and she ends up being a part of the storyline as well. But in the end, I can't deny that it is one of the best games I've ever watched. And what's unfortunate to me is not that Alex Morgan gets overshadowed or anything like that. Megan Rapinoe.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Megan Rapinoe is so good on that team.
I'm bestowing that on Megan Rapinoe. She is an amazing player. She played out of her mind on Monday. And you're right. That is, first of all, here's the thing. Even though the Americans won, even though Megan Rapinoe had 2 goals and was just a boss in the midfield there, she's not the player of the game for me. Christine Sinclair is the player of the game. She scored a hat trick.
She's the player of the game, but there's a big part of me. I fell in love with Tancredi in this game.
You did? She stomps on.
Okay. So she might have stomped a player. Soccer's full of people that have stomped some people. Okay, Zinedine Zidane headbutted a guy. Does it mean he's not one of the best players around? No. Okay,
right.
But the way she plays, how hard she plays, and how physical she plays. It is so just it's just so cool to watch. I mean, she is just everywhere. I love the way that girl plays.
We sound like the best U.S. fans in the world. We're sitting here talking about this game, and we've given Megan Rapinoe plenty of props, but I mentioned Christine Sinclair, and you mentioned Tancredi, and both of them are Canada players. Meanwhile, I think that our what we're supposed to be doing as fans is defending this team, that they deserve to win, that the call, which it needs some kind of clever nickname, by the way. This is the kind of thing that goes down, once it becomes lore, and it's a legendary moment in U.S. soccer, period, but women's soccer specifically, it needs one of those clever nicknames. Like,
we call it like 6 seconds of heaven.
I don't think that quite works. But yeah, I mean, I guess, just the 6 second.
Well, here's what's funny about this, and I wish I had tweeted this out because I would look like the smartest man ever. About 5 minutes before that play, I remember thinking, "Wow, that keeper is taking way too long with that ball." I was like, and she there was a couple times she false started with it a bit, like she's gonna get rid of it, and she held it forever. I was like, "Wow, you could call 6 seconds on it right now if you wanted to." Now I don't necessarily know that the next play because they kind of cut away from her, so I kind of lost track of the time. But I remember thinking beforehand that she was taking too long. So here's the thing. If it's more than 6 seconds, it's a legit call, right? Just because we don't see it all the time doesn't make it any less right, no. Make more of a less of a right call.
And this was what I was trying to get across, is that it's the right call. And this makes it kind of muddy ground when you get into a debate about whether or not she should have called it. The issue is that no one ever calls it. It's just not one of those calls that's made. Now, I saw a couple people tweet some examples. Apparently, Hope Solo actually had it called on her in WPS either last year or a couple years ago. It's been out there, but it's just not called anywhere. I mean, in a general sense, no one calls this. And it's
so if this call happens in the first 10 minutes of the game, do you think it gets nearly the attention it has when the U.S. needs a goal at the end of the game?
It doesn't get the same attention if Rapinoe's free kick does not hit an arm and get a penalty as a result. I mean, if there's no penalty and there's no goal to tie up the game at that point, then the 6 second rule is just something that people kind of like, well, why did that was weird. Why did she call that? And they move on because Canada either wins the game or loses the game on something else. I mean, Canada was I thought, not in control, but they were certainly on their way, and they may have been able to hold out. I thought the overall the United States played better, and if you want to go to that high-minded deserve and not deserve situation, I thought the United States deserved to win. That doesn't make it right. And again, the fact that that call is never made is the issue, and we get into this sticky subject where, why is there a culture in any sport, but this is about soccer, why is there a culture where there's a rule on the books that never gets called? If it's on the books, either call it or take it off the books, right? I mean, that's my issue. Because now, again, you have a situation where we can all say, American fans, biased like we are, we can all say, well, technically it's the right call. Technically, it's on the books that way. Technically, it's supposed to be an indirect, and technically. That doesn't make anybody feel any better when we might never see another 6 second call in our lifetimes.
Well, the weird thing about this call is that it's one of the few calls out there where you have to judge the intent of the player that's doing it. Whereas there's certain things like intentional fouls. You can judge the intent of it, and it's a yellow card. Whether it would be a normal foul anywhere else on the field, there's an intent that has to be there. It has to be intentional time wasting, right? That's the way I understand it.
Well, I mean, does it? I have to go back and look, and I did look up the rule in the aftermath, but I would have to go back and look and see if it says that it has to be intentional. You get into trouble when you start trying to as a referee or anybody, trying to judge somebody's intentions. It's impossible to know what's going on in their heads. Now, was McLeod trying to waste time? I don't know. She probably, because it's never.
What keeper in that scenario wouldn't be? I mean, here's the thing. If Bill Gaudette, he doesn't get called 6 seconds, and that guy does this kind of stuff all the time.
Right. Well, okay. Again, the rule says 6 seconds in the hands. She can't hold the ball for 6 seconds. She can drop the ball. 6 seconds, that doesn't apply anymore. But apparently, if you count from when she was holding the ball on the ground, which I think, the contention is most referees wouldn't count that even if they are going to call this. But if you're counting from when she holds the ball on the ground to when she gets up to when she finally kicks the ball, drop kicks the ball, it's more than 6 seconds. It's the right call, blah, blah, blah. But again, intention is tough to determine, and you're asking, and referees have to do it all the time. It's part of the job. But and in this situation, with Canada up a goal, you assume that she's trying to waste time, even if she's really just doing her.
The scenario plays into it. I mean, the referee is only human. The setting is there. The story is there. I think whether she's intending to or not, I think that the perception will always be because of the situations at the games at that point. You're going to have that factor into the judgment of the referee. So I think I don't have anything against the call. It's just weird, and that's my issue with it. It's not that it was wrong or it's right. I think it probably errs more on the side of being right, but it's just that's not the way this team was doing everything so well, and the game was so entertaining. I just didn't want to come down to this. And it doesn't spoil it for me. It just doesn't. The storyline is just unfortunately going to be skewed.
Yeah, I think it does sour it for me a little bit. Again, I'm fine with the United States winning. I'm a fan, but it does sour it for me that there is this nagging feeling that, okay, maybe they didn't, maybe that really wasn't the right result. Maybe it was unfair to Canada. I think the reaction is completely just nuts, and I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's just so over the top. And I know that American fans have done this. I mean, my mind immediately went back to Coleman Koulibaly and that whole situation. Jared, and the way American fans reacted to that, and look, I'm one, and I have to own what my compatriots do, but I wasn't a fan of the veiled death threats. I'm sure there were some actual death threats, and not directly to him. He's not on Twitter or anything, but the vitriol spewed in
in the world of death threats. How unsincere or manly is the Twitter death threat?
It's pretty bad.
Because when you compare it to the guy that cuts out each individual letter from different magazines and pastes them on a page versus the guy that mistypes with uses the R for the word R and the U for the word U, like he's typing on Twitter, it's just not the best way to do a death threat.
Speaking of death threats on Twitter, I saw, believe it or not, I saw Joey Barton tweeting about this, and he said something. He's like, if you're going to, why would you give somebody a death threat? Then you're letting them know that you're going to kill them, and isn't the point to surprise them? Which is just
that's like giving a blueprint, because this is a guy that probably has had a few in his time and is constantly probably the subject of them. You don't want to hand the guy the blueprint of like, hey, and by the way, my alarm code is this, and this.
Right. Yeah, it's like, why would you give early warning if you really hate the person that much that you're going to commit this heinous act? Why would you let them know? But obviously the point is that people's passions run real hot, and the Canadians got real hot about this. And I think that the whole was it fixed thing is a step too far, but I obviously understand the anger. I've been through it myself. We've all been through it. We've seen referees screw our teams out of games, and we've been upset. We've said things that we maybe regretted afterwards. And I don't know that the Canadian women, because the players said some things, Jared. Christine Sinclair said that she thought the referee had decided it was going to be an American victory before the first whistle. I don't know. I mean, you can't prove a negative. I can't prove the game wasn't fixed.
I don't really even blame her. After you score 3 goals like that and you have that kind of loss, you should be able to say whatever you want to say.
No, really? You should just say whatever you want. I mean, there are
I think she's earned the right to have a little bit of a slap on the hand. If she feels wronged, I don't know. I'm never a fan of people getting bans or suspensions or fines for calling out refs. If the world made the refs available to the press, they wouldn't have to call them out.
Okay, there's that as well. But here's we'll end on this. It's a Norwegian referee, Peterson, I think is their last name. They called her dad in Norway. Somebody called, I don't know who it was. I think it was some Canadian media outlet, but I may be wrong about that. Somebody called her dad to ask him about what exactly.
They tattled on her?
Well, I mean, he's obviously watching the game. I'm sure he's watching, the Olympics. His daughter's reffing a semifinal in the Olympics. Of course, he's probably watching that. I don't know what, and he's like, oh, well, the goalkeeper was warned about time wasting, and he's trying to back up his daughter. It's just an odd situation all around. And look, maybe this means something for Canadian women's soccer or Canadian soccer in general.
I think it's actually, I think it's a step up for Canadian women's national team soccer, because the spotlight they just got on the sport, and not just that, the performance that they put on is worthy of whatever spotlight they get out of this.
Yeah, they put on a great performance, number one, and maybe you could argue that they would have a bigger spotlight if they were in the gold medal game. But I've said this before, and I may have said it after the Koulibaly incident in 2010. I think that the anger and the we got wronged and we were screwed actually brings people together and makes fans out of people who weren't fans before more than just winning does sometimes. I think we're all in this together. We're Canadians. We got screwed. I'm a fan of this team because they got screwed and because I'm angry about that situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not sure I'm explaining this right, but you get my point that sometimes the collective anger can spawn more passion than just, oh, we won a gold medal. That's great. That's fantastic. Let's have a parade.
Well, speaking of things that spawned anger, I missed a lot of this MLS tiebreaker drama today, and catching up on it late. And maybe I'm not seeing the full picture here. I don't get it. Fill me in on what are the controversies about here, because I don't really see it.
Okay. And maybe I have to explain this to you as well, Jared. I'm sorry that sometimes
Don't talk down to me like I'm a child.
Okay, I said that out bad. The issue today, MLS press release. They shoot out a press release mid-afternoon, says, hey, guys, we've gotten some new tiebreakers for 2012. The last third of the season's coming. Everybody's excited. Playoff races are heating up. Let's change the tiebreaker rules. And now the first tiebreaker is goals scored, essentially. So if you have two teams tied on points, either for seeding or to get into the playoffs at all, the tiebreaker is going to be how many goals did those teams score over the course of the entire season. And there are two issues with this. Number one is the more technical issue. Is goals scored a good tiebreaker? Or is goal differential, which goal differential obviously puts more emphasis on the defense than goals scored. Goal scores has nothing to do with your defense. And the idea from MLS is that we're trying to encourage attacking play. So we're going to make this the first tiebreaker because it'll encourage attacking play. So they make this change. They completely throw defense out the window. Just go score a bunch of goals and that can be your tiebreaker. The second issue is that they announce it now. It's August 8th. 1/3 of the season is left. They announce it now. Nobody knew that this was the tiebreaker.
Well, hold on right there. Hold on right there, though, because from what I read from the release, the teams knew in January. It's just that the fans didn't know till now.
Okay, it took us about an hour to flesh out that the teams knew in January. But that still is an issue for me. Okay, look, obviously it's not a competitive issue. It doesn't change the competition if all of the managers and all of the coaches and all of the ownership, they all knew. They could go out and play 2012 with this knowledge that their total goals would be the decider if they were tied at the end of the season on points with somebody. But it still bothers me just from a transparency situation. You're not telling your fans the basic rules that are governing your competition for 2012. You wait 5 months to do that, whatever it is. That bothers me just on a basic level. I think the fans have the right to know what the rules are, to know under what conditions their teams are operating. And if you're throwing this out there after we've gone through 2/3 of the season, it's not that it's changed anything from the competition standpoint. It's not like, oh my God, my team got screwed. It's not that. It's just this odd sense. Why exactly are you holding this from me? Why didn't we know about this? Are you manipulating me? I feel manipulated by MLS, and I think that's exactly the goal. They wanted the PR bump. They get a lot of chatter out of this.
No, manipulate. It's not like they told you they were going to call you after the date, and they never did. I mean, it's.
But Jared, because it was voted in before the season, and because all of the teams know, and I'm honestly a little surprised nobody said anything, but because all the teams knew, it's definitely manipulation. Somebody, and I'm not going to put this on anybody's head, but I'm guessing it's on the public relations side. Somebody said, hey, you know what? Why don't we wait until the playoffs races really start to heat up late in the season? And we release this news, and it puts a new wrinkle into the season. And
so you're saying they played us like a fiddle because now we're talking about it?
Exactly. We're the self-fulfilling prophecy here. The ends justify the means, because even though they're getting some negative attention, and I'm a little angered about it, we're still talking about it. And people still have.
I just can't wait till someone tries to turn this into the league kowtowing to the LA Galaxy, because they played no defense this year.
Well, okay, before we were told that the teams knew in January, because, I hate to be conspiracy theory guy. I got to throw it out there. Maybe they didn't. And maybe they're just going along with the party line. No, I really do think that teams probably knew. I think they would cry foul if they didn't. But there were some people saying, hey, this plays into New York and LA's hands, because those are two high-scoring teams. And so their goals scored is going to help them when it comes down to playoff seeding. and maybe
well, it also doesn't. Okay, I get it, and I agree with you in that if you want the truest test of who deserves something more, it should reflect a team statistic. It shouldn't reflect just one half of the team statistic.
Right, exactly.
Whereas
Exactly.
the defense plays no role in it, so you're basically kind of saying that only half the team counts. And I understand that point. I think that point's valid. I can also see from a league standpoint, I don't think it's had any change on the way the games have been played up until now. But the last 5 games of the season, when things are getting close point-wise, it's going to matter. People will throw caution to the wind and throw players forward. And is that going to be entertaining? Maybe.
I don't know about that. Really? Is that okay? You're the manager. You're the coach of a MLS team. Okay, you're on the road. You're down a point or two in the standings. What are you going to do? Are you going to prioritize the point? Okay, let's play for a draw. We can get a point. We can get back. Whatever. Or are we going to go and try to score a bunch of goals? I mean,
here's where I think it factors in. If you're already up 2-0, you may not try to lock it down. You may try to go to press to make it to blow it out.
Okay, I suppose that's possible. But
you're willing to entertain the conspiracy theories that the league's trying to do stuff for the Galaxy, but you can't entertain the possibility that someone might go for a couple more goals in a game.
I'm actually not entertaining that this is about the Galaxy. I think this is what they say it is. They are trying to get teams to play more attacking, and that's what this is about. And the timing thing is a PR deal just to drive some interest and some chatter. I think it is what they say it is. It's just annoying to me that they really do think that this is the best way to go about it. They could have done a soft release of this before the season started, buried it in something. Now, the bloggers and the hardcore, they would have found it. We would have had a discussion, but it wouldn't have been the big deal that it is now, and still released it now, and it would still get a pop. I think. I mean, I just think it's disingenuous to install a rule, not tell your fan base, and then drop it on them 2/3 of the way through the season. I just think that's shady.
At this point, had you even forgotten that there was a game about to go on?
No, I know that.
I kind of forgot that there was even going to be a game tonight. Now
let's get back to it. The teams are out in Kansas City. We're getting ready for kickoff. Sporting.
I saw fireworks.
U.S. Open Cup for all of the marbles. Jared, quick prediction before we get out of here.
I'm going to say a 1-0 win for Seattle. I think they break down Kansas City finally, and I think Kansas City's, I don't want to say negative style, but defensive style may come back to bite them a bit.
I'm going to say 2-1 for the home team. I've got Kansas City, and one of those goals is a penalty, so we'll see how that plays out. All right, let's get out of here. When we come back, it'll be halftime U.S. Open Cup. We'll be back then to talk about whatever happened in the first half. Best Soccer Show, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. Is the Best Soccer Show halftime of the 99th U.S. Open Cup final. Jason Davis, Jerry Dubois here with you. And we got a half to review. 45 minutes are in the books. 45 minutes and change, thanks to a couple of guys going down. Paulo Nagamura got a gash on his cheek, and Graham Zeus goes down at the end. And
on that gash, over under on 4.5 stitches.
It was hard to tell from my kind of blurry goal TV, so I'm gonna say over. But
I'm saying it's about a 6-stitch wound.
It looked like a pretty good wound. It looked more. I think depth was the issue there, not necessarily the width of the wound. Now, is that the thing that we're gonna take away from the first half of this Open Cup final? A couple of a gash, and Graham Zusi goes down, and I'm missing at least one sounder who was down for a little while with injury.
Before we say what the storyline is, we should at least put out there that we are taking calls during the halftime show. If you want to call, give us your thoughts on the first half. You can call us at 201-430-2378. Give us a call. Let us know what you thought. But in the meantime, what's your storyline coming out of that first half, Jason?
I mean, it was very physical, which I think we expected. I think Kansas City played exactly the way we expected them to. They sat back. They waited for Seattle to come at them, and then they countered. And there weren't a lot of chances. Eddie Johnson had a very good chance saved by Jimmy Nielsen off the line.
Two very good chances, and I think those two good chances highlight one of the big weaknesses I see right now in Kansas City is they're missing Aurelian Collin right now.
Yes.
If you think of who would probably be marking EJ on that corner kick, and then the second effort with the fast break straight up the middle, defender overcommits, he turns on him, puts on the wheels. I think right through the heart of where Collin would be.
A pretty base. I mean, look, Eddie Johnson obviously got wheels and hops on the header. But
he does again. He didn't have them for a number of years. He found his wheels somewhere.
Well, I think he always had the wheels. He may have not had the opportunity to use them or whatever the situation was. But that's a pretty simple move that he put on. Who was the center back that he put that move on and just missed the post? I
don't know if it was Olam or not. I'm not sure.
I think that's exactly who it was. And you're right. I think Aurelian Collin is the man who would be marking EJ if he was healthy and available. And that's the weak link for Kansas City. They can sit back all they want. They can.
It's not the only weak link for Kansas City. Let's be honest here, Jason. The weak link on the other end of the side of the field, Teal Bunbury.
Teal Bunbury.
Teal Bunbury looks off a completely open Kai Kamara. Do you think he didn't even know he was there? Because if not, I hope he didn't know he was there. Because if you look off a player that open, he doesn't have nearly the swag. This ain't Kobe Bryant out there running the point, okay?
Well, we just got done talking about Chris Wondolowski and the attitude that strikers have to have, and this kind of selfish mentality of take your shot. Bunbury's got that in spades. He just doesn't convert.
Have a shot?
Well, he doesn't convert enough, chances into actual shots on goal. He doesn't. His touch has failed him repeatedly over the course of the last It's been about a year since Teal Bunbury started on this downhill slide. I mean, maybe we got
Bunbury started to slide, CJ Sapong's stock rose, and now maybe they're shifting a little bit. CJ Sapong and then not getting the run of minutes. Teal Bunbury's been the kind of in favor, but he's not really doing much with what. I know he had a goal last weekend, but it was more on a gaff by Benny Feilhaber in the back. I'm not seeing what Bunbury's bringing to this team right now, unfortunately. And Kai Kamara has every right to be angry at Teal Bunbury after that.
This game, and Kai Kamara had a shot off the crossbar, which I think may have been. Was it deflected? It may have been Kansas City's best chance of the half. I mean, they didn't create a whole lot. They had a couple of shots from long range. They didn't put anything in front of goal. There weren't any. Nobody got on the end of a cross or anything like that to really threaten Gasperning in Seattle's net. Does this game cry out for CJ Sapong right now? Is that the move you want Seattle to make right this moment?
I think that's I would say so. I'm not sure they have a better center back option out there right now. So I think you may want to look to see something. How you're going to take EJ out of this game? He looks like the player right now that can break out and do something by himself. But I'm not sure if they have an answer for that. Really, if you have one option, you can either bring Nagamura or Espinoza further back and try to help that back line and not have that gap between the two. But if you do that, you're kind of losing that high pressure kind of style that Kansas City's known for. I think Kansas City's playing their game. It's just unfortunate that Seattle's finding a way to kind of expose the one weakness they have in the back right now. Seattle, on the other hand, I think Kansas City's doing a good job of stifling them. I think Mauro Rosales is having a tough time finding his way into this game. I think Seattle's not able to play their game as much as they would like, but it's no coincidence that the one time they get down and get a corner kick, they find something dangerous out of it. You can't give Seattle those opportunities.
Area code 330. Who's this?
Hey, this is Nathan.
Hey, what's up, Nathan? Thoughts on the first half?
Yeah, I just was watching it, and I'm looking at Eddie Johnson as the guy. If anyone's going to break through, he seems more dynamic up top than anyone else right now. Montero's kind of getting bogged down in the midfield because he keeps coming back into it. But
yeah,
I think they can open it up out wide. They'll be able to get him through.
Yeah, Freddie Montero has a tendency to take himself out of games on occasion, Jared. And this may be. I didn't notice him. I mean, I didn't see Freddie Montero do much of anything. Was there a moment where
I remember having a couple nice pullbacks, but I mean that's not really going to do that. I mean he's picking us. I think he's intentionally holding up the play when he needs to hold it up. He's not pushing it too much. But if the game against the Galaxy last week is any inclination of Freddie Montero, he can be out of the game for an hour at a time, and then he comes in, and he hits something wonderful like he did on that half volley against LA.
Right. We talked about a possible change for Kansas City if they want to make that switch, and it's a like for like, obviously Bunbury for Sapong, and both of us I think are higher on Sapong right now than Bunbury, and I'm guessing the Sporting Kansas City fan base might be in that same boat. But if you're Seattle, is there any obvious change there? I mean, like you said, Mauro Rosales has not really had an impact yet. I mean, it looks like it's playing into Seattle's hands, but Kansas City is taking their best shots, and Seattle still can't get on the board. You would think that Seattle's going to break through at some point, which will change this game completely. Sporting will have to go for it if they don't go down a goal, but I think they're more than willing to see this out.
Sporting Kansas City is like Bald Bull. Remember Bald Bull from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out? The guy will just take a beating. He'll keep taking the beating and keep taking the beating, and hopefully just knock you out with one punch. I mean, that's what they are right now. They're gonna take every bit of pressure that Seattle can throw their way and just hopefully absorb it.
I just want to stop because that is props. That's such an awesome analysis. That is fantastic. The Bald Bull analogy, because he charges every now and then, and you have to get out of the way.
Yeah, you got to dodge.
Area code 425. Who's this?
Yeah, why is this on Gold TV?
Why is it on
Gold TV by the next two finals?
Because nobody else stepped up the number
the most
soccer liked. I mean, it comes down to basic economics, I think.
It seems Fox Soccer had to make a bid, and that would have been much better for. Well, certainly better for the cup and going forward.
Well, I mean,
bigger.
I guess that again, U.S. Soccer is making the decision. If Fox Soccer's bid was much lower than Gold TV's, and we saw some numbers or heard some numbers, and none of them were overly large. But if Fox Soccer was lowballing this, figuring, we've got the best shot, we're the people that have been broadcasting this tournament, and Gold TV came in above them, would you prefer U.S. Soccer take less money for the slightly larger audience that FSC is going to give you, or give it to somebody who actually shows that they want it? I'm not saying Gold TV is going to do the best job in the world, but
I think absolutely you take less money because you're trying to grow the cup.
Okay.
Well, so you want them to take the MLS approach where they basically spurned the offer that Fox Soccer Channel had out there and went with MSNBC to have a better product on the field. You're saying that in your opinion, the Open Cup should have done the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, if the Hockey Network wanted to show it and they made a better offer, you're saying based on business sense?
Well, is the Open Cup in a position?
There are obviously some other variables at play. If the NHL Network, for some ungodly reason, made an offer for the U.S. Open Cup, you'd probably say no because it's the NHL Network. But this is a soccer network. Gold TV is a soccer network. People know it. Whether they get it or not is the issue. I'm not going to defend U.S. Soccer here, but I don't know the numbers, and I don't know what if Fox Soccer made an offer that even made any sense. I don't know what kind of commitment they were making. Maybe they wanted to do, maybe
here's another thing we haven't talked about. Maybe U.S. Soccer is trying to make a statement to Fox Soccer Channel. They denied them when the last time the MLS rights came around. I don't know how much U.S. Soccer has to do with that, but they're affiliated with MLS. They turned down their offer there. They turned down their offer here. Maybe U.S. Soccer is trying to make a statement to Fox Soccer Channel that you need to step up if you want to be a part of what we're doing here.
Yeah. Thanks for the call. I don't want to get into. I mean, look, we're talking about this game tonight, and I know people are frustrated about the TV situation, and it is what it is. It's on Gold TV. If you don't have Gold TV, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. And I agree that it makes it more difficult to grow the tournament when you're putting it on a niche network that not everybody gets. But this is the way it is. It's better than no TV. So I mean, I'm not going to say you can't criticize.
It's funny. 5 years ago, do you remember having a time like 5 years ago? You told me that there's going to be two different networks, 24-hour soccer networks, bidding for the U.S. Open Cup rights, and something like us is doing a pre, half, and post game show for anyone else that wants it. There's so much additional coverage than was a few years ago. Let's be honest. The scene is feeling its way out right now. There's a lot of transgression going on right now in this scene. Who knows what all's going on? It has to find. It's uncharted ground right now.
Yes, no, absolutely. And look, that was one of the things about the atmosphere that I wanted to get. It is and I said it in a very British way on Twitter. I'm going to repeat it here. It's a proper cup final atmosphere. It feels like a big game. Both of the fan bases are into this. You got traveling fans from Seattle. Both of the teams obviously care. It's not the prettiest soccer, and typically finals are not the prettiest soccer, Jared. You get a lot of physical play, a lot of chopping and kicking and elbows and all of that stuff. And it's going to take one or two moments, a striker like Eddie Johnson finding himself in space and taking a shot and actually putting it on the goal to make the difference, or Sporting with one of their long shots, or Kamara puts in a cross and finds Bunbury or Sapong, whoever's in. It's going to take one of those moments to break this open. Right now, it's very tight. It's very, it's cup final. It's kind of, you see like
every ball's being fought for. Every tackle's going in hard, because that's how cup finals are. You have one shot, you're going to leave everything out there. And I think that's what you're seeing from these teams right now. It's all about limiting exposure.
Yes, absolutely. Your quality is going in and out. So I'm going to blame that on Goal TV as well, since we're blaming everything else on Goal TV. Apparently, Jared's my quality is being affected. I don't know. I'm just looking for something here.
All right, so I'll let you freestyle the whole rest of it if you want.
No. I don't. Hey, calm down.
No. I can't hear all my things starting to sound, so I don't know how bad it is.
No, it's not that bad. Okay. So what are we looking forward to? What do we expect? I mean, I've still got 2-1 on the table. I think
Sapong.
I think Jeremiah Ocean's 4-2 is out the window. I don't think that's happening at this point. You think the weather conditions are having an impact on this? I mean, I haven't noticed a lot of slipping.
I don't think so. I don't think that's the case. I haven't really noticed much of it in that regard. I have seen. Have you seen some of those pictures that people are tweeting out of the sky though?
Yeah, I saw some of that. It's one of those situations where it looks ominous, and there may have been some hail before game time. I think I might have seen something about that. We'll have to see. I haven't seen anything about whether or not there'll be more weather as this game goes along. But I would expect some changes. You've got to get something else working if you're Kansas City, because you're only going to get so many chances. If your goal is to restrict Seattle and counter, then you're going to have to find somebody who can actually make those counters count. Right, to be redundant there, but whatever. And obviously Teal Bunbury is not getting the job done, and it makes sense. The straight swap, the easy swap, is CJ Sapong.
So here's to tell you a little bit more about the mindset of Peter Vermees. When CJ Sapong comes in the game, is it for Teal Bunbury, or is it for Paulo Nagamura or someone like that?
He could go more attacking and take off one of those midfielders, and it would certainly open things up a little bit. Would it make Kansas City more susceptible to getting picked apart by Seattle?
Either they play the 4-3-3 or they play a 4-4-2 and drop Kamara back into midfield, which they've done on occasion this season.
They have done that as well. We've still got the phone lines open up until second half kick, 201-430-2378. Not even sure. I'm not running a clock. How much time do we have, guys? Can I get a check?
It's still commercial. That's all I know.
It's still commercial. All right, so we've got a minute or two probably.
All I know is that right now my prediction still looks good.
And what was your prediction? I forget.
1-0 Seattle.
1-0. Okay, that's right. You had less goals on the board than I did. I think my highlight, just to take it to a different place, my highlight was: did you catch the guy in a keeper's shirt and gloves, in a pink keeper's shirt and gloves in the stands, cheering on Kansas City faithful? You missed this guy.
Was he behind the goal, like to catch one of like EJ's shots or something?
It's definitely in one of the support. It seemed like a supporter section. Everybody's standing up and cheering. I'm pretty.
I didn't see him rocking a pink shirt.
I need. Like a Kansas City, like a goalie shirt. It's like a keeper shirt, like a goalkeeper shirt.
I kind of got to give a golf clap to a guy that's going to wear a pink shirt in the Midwest.
He was wearing goalkeeping gloves. He was wearing the gloves.
Well, I mean, my man's prepared. If you go to a baseball game, you're going to see a dude with a glove out there, aren't you?
No, but I will call out a grown man wearing a glove to a baseball game. That is a no-no. Do not do that. Let your 12-year-old bring his glove. Do not bring your glove to a baseball game. You should not be wearing keeper's gloves. I'm sorry. I'm sure he's enthusiastic about Jimmy Nielsen, and he
So it's gonna be like our whole discussion a while back on you can't wear certain teams' jerseys to a game. You can't wear keeper gloves either.
No, you cannot wear. Come on, look. If you're supporting your team, you're wearing the team's jersey. That's a fantastic thing. You can wear the pink. I have no problem.
It's kind of like going to Disneyland and wearing Mickey hands, huh?
It's a little bit. Sure, it's a little bit like that.
I mean, there's a guy in the park that's wearing the gloves, but he's paid to do it. You shouldn't be doing it.
All right, let's go. Second half kickoff is coming, so we're going to close this halftime edition of the Best Soccer Show out. Guys, make sure you come back. We'll do a little post-game wrap-up. Best Soccer Show, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. Talk to you then.